Hey, my friends, guess what? It's another weekly review on the CyberJA stream where we actually spend the time to reflect and to look at those various articles and documents. I mean, looking at the various issues that exist within cybersecurity. And for sure, this is one of the environments in which we are able to look at those points to build our skill set as cybersecurity professionals within the industry, and especially for those of us who are trying to actually garner those insights and those skills. So predominantly for those who are continuously following, guys, for sure, I definitely like your involvement from time to time. I definitely appreciate taking that early morning, or wherever you are, to spend that time with us on the CyberJA stream, where we look at those article reviews. So grab that, your favorite beverage, as we seek to dive into um, the issues at hand. So, guys, let me quickly share my screen with you as we dive into our discussion for today, as we see to gain those insights that can actually help us to take our career and our skill set to the next level as security professionals. And that's one of the main things of doing this, to be able to not to just listen or to uh, see this as something that you do on a regular basis, but actually make notes to see how well you can actually be of value within an organization. And that's one of the main things that you want to do, to build your skill set so that you can be a person of value, to critically analyze and to assess, to provide the guidance that your organization actually requires within an organization. So let me quickly share my screen. All right, guys, just a second. Um, all right, good to go. So there we have our report that we're looking at, guys. So pretty much, this is a report um, done by Cox. That's the Cox Cyber Readiness Report. And I mean, the fact that this was actually done in 2020, it still bears a number of relevant points. And I strongly recommend that you actually go and check the most current reports. But there is something that actually comes out from this article that I really want to bring across for us as cybersecurity professionals within the industry, and is the important findings that was actually discovered from this particular report. So I strongly recommend that you spend the time. It's quite a lengthy document. I will not be going through all of the details, but there are some valid points that actually came out from this article. And the interesting thing about the article is that some of the key findings is the fact that only 11% of organizations have an effective cybersecurity plan in place, which is quite alarming. Bearing in mind that the average cost, and this is just based on a report, of a cybersecurity incident for an organization is approximately 369,000, right? And large organizations with over 1,000 employees are more likely to have effective cybersecurity plans in place compared to small and medium-sized businesses. Ransomware attacks are on the rise, and organizations are increasingly paying the ransom to retrieve their data. Insider threats such as accidental or malicious actions by employees are a significant concern for organizations. And these are some of the key things that we do here from time to time that organizations have to deal with. But one of the key things that I really want us to focus on is the fact that only 11% of organizations have an effective cybersecurity plan. And in cases, there are some organizations that do not have this plan in place. So let me quickly bring across. And for today, I pretty much want us to keep this as practical as possible so that we definitely understand what we are working with. All right, so let me look at bring this across. So fact is that how many organizations, that's the main question. How many organizations or businesses have a network security plan in place? And based on this report, approximately 11% of organizations have an effective cybersecurity plan in place. And one of the main reasons for this, when we really look at it, is that a number of businesses or organizations actually start from a case of just being a simple mom and pop, as they would say, business. So what actually happens is a case, for example, a simple business. You start maybe a coffee shop or whatever the nature of the business is, simply delivering a few services. And as time goes along, then the demand for the services might grow. And then this organization become into a multi 500 corporation. We have many branches, right? Various branches. The organization grows. Now, along with the growth of this organization, you have the network being expanded. You have a number of resources existing in your organization. You have a number of computers, devices that are growing. But bearing in mind, with the fact that many of these companies or businesses actually starting from a small point, they eventually evolve with time. And in many cases, there is not really a structured cybersecurity plan or a network security plan in place. It's a matter of um, adding various devices and growing with the need of the organization. So there is not that really a structure in place in terms of that network security plan. And this in of itself actually opens a can of worms, as they would say, for a number of attacks as it relates to the attack surface within organizations. So not many persons are fortunate enough to be able to find themselves in an organization where you're able to build that initial cybersecurity plan, to have that in place and all of these things. So as a cybersecurity professional, that's one of the things that you want to do to help to improve on the security posture and resiliency within the organization, always trying to see how it is that you can use your skills from a cybersecurity perspective to help an organization to become more efficient, to have that 360-degree holistic view of the organization, not just to focus on your core task at hand, but you have to see the vision, you have to see the business objectives, where it is that the organization want to go, so that you can help that organization to improve on its operation. So once you begin to have the expansion, the growth, at times you have the cloud environment coming into play, and then you have that interconnectedness of all of these organizations coming together, then you recognize that now is the time that you really need to have a plan as it relates to your security plan within an organization. So one of the things that we want and definitely going to be looking at this point is how it is that we actually develop and implement, right? How it is that we actually develop and implement a network security plan. And this is not cast in stone. There are many approaches. Many security experts have their own methods, their own approaches in terms of executing such a plan for an organization. So it's just a matter of understanding the fundamentals. So one of the first things as it relates to developing and implementing a network So let me quickly just switch gears a little bit as I remove this. All right, so our key focus at this point is pretty much, all right, so this is the quest, this is what we really want to focus on. How to develop and implement a network security plan. All right, guys, and I've just been highlighting a number of pointers as it relates to doing this, and then you can definitely do further research to build on this in terms of helping your organization to become more resilient in their operation. And the fact is that protecting a business and its data from the many threats and adversaries is something that is very challenging and definitely requires your expert skill set to definitely deal with these challenges within the organization. And for sure, bearing in mind that these systems are being used by end users in an organization that definitely need the guidance. So having a plan in place is very important as it relates to security management within any organization, any enterprise, any business that you're actually working with. So as it relates to planning for a secure network security plan or a secure network, then there are a number of things that you have to take into consideration. So one of the first things as it relates to developing or implementing a network security plan, guys, is to plan for your security. All right. So one of the first things you want to do is, all right, all right. So that's one of the first things that you want to do. You want to understand your business model, right? So take that time to understand the nature of the business and also its operations within the organization. So this is not just about you trying to be creative or technical within the organization. So everything that has to be done with security efforts must be in line with business objectives, working along with the executives, the board of management within the organization to ensure that whatever plan is put in place is not restricting the business, but actually helping the business to operate securely in light of the various risks and also the challenges that exist within the organization. So that's the first step, understand your business model. And that's the first step in developing a network security plan, right? You want to know what it is that you're planning to secure. So not just about having a plan, but you have to know what it is that you're trying to secure. You also have to know where your critical data is, right, within the organization, where it resides, how the business produces revenue, and things like those, right? Executive leadership will definitely have this sort of information. So you will have to take the time to build a relationship with the organization in terms of gaining this sort of information. And one second step is to perform, right? You want to perform. Let me quickly. All right, so you then want to perform a threat assessment. So once you understand the business model of the organization, regardless of the type of organization, you can actually work this plan from a small to a depending the size of the organization doesn't really matter. The key thing is to understand the fundamentals, the concept behind all of this, right? So you want to understand the business model of the organization, and it is now this is where you actually try to understand the assets, the system, the resources that are within the environment on the network so that you can actually use this information to carry out your threat assessment within the organization. So normally within a threat assessment, what you're trying to do is to identify and classify security holes in the network. You want to identify those weaknesses and vulnerabilities that could be exploited by various adversaries that exist. You want to identify your network security vulnerabilities. Um, we're going to be testing, for example, the viability of your network defenders, right? You want to audit your network. You will carry out a penetration test on the environment. All of this falls under your threat assessment within the organization to see where those gaps exist so that you can definitely put those controls, those systems, those resources in place to help with the efficiency of your network. And once that is done, then you want to, for sure, develop your IT security policies and procedures. All right, so that's one of the third things, to develop your IT security policies and procedures for your environment. So having done the threat assessment, then you can actually take those results from your threat assessment and then use these to create various policies within the organization. Bearing in mind that your policies and procedures are the glue, the lifeblood of actually enforcing security measures to be implemented based on the various controls that exist within your organization. Right? Then you want to create the culture within the organization. Right? So that's only four things that you want to create your culture. So all of these things contribute to developing and implementing a network security plan. Right? Understand your business model. You want to perform the threat assessment, develop your IT security policies and procedures, create a security first culture within the organization. Right? This is where you want to cultivate that strong security. We have those cybersecurity awareness training and all of these things to ensure that everyone in the organization is aware of the benefits and efforts of cybersecurity within the organization. Right? So bearing in mind, guys, that we are actually looking at the importance of having a security network security plan in place based on a report that you have actually looked at previously. So once you have achieved this, then the fifth thing that you want to do is to define your incident response plan. Right? Let me quickly just remove these items. All right. So step 5 is to define your incident response plan. And this is very critical within an organization, knowing how to respond to various threats within the organization that can actually disrupt the business's operations. Right? So it's very important to have this in place in terms of defining your incident response. And that in of itself is a totally complete in terms of planning that involves a lot of resources, tabletop exercises to ensure that this is actually tried and tested in light of possible, attacks that can actually take place within an organization. Then you want to implement your security controls. Right? So this is where you have your security controls for the organization. And there are several security controls, not to mention the frameworks that are available that can be used to be implemented within an organization. And these frameworks provide directions on how to, for example, secure your firewalls. secure your operating systems according to best practices. And a number of common framework exists like by the NIST, National Institute of Technology. You have the ISO 27001, the CIS controls, you have the PCI DSS, you also have the CMCC, right? That's the Cybersecurity Maturity Model. So all of these frameworks provide a number of guidelines as it relates to controls that you can implement, right? And for sure, if your organization do not have the capabilities, then you can definitely align yourself or seek the services of a managed service security provider or company to give your organization the assistant that it actually needs in light of this. Right. So going back to our report, so this report, as I said before, is one that is the fourth in this case, readiness report. It has been compiled in collaboration with research firm Forrester, and the report not only provides an up-to-date, to-the-minute picture of the cyber readiness organization, it also offers a blueprint for best practices in the fight to counter an ever-evolving threat. And it is based on a survey of executives, department heads, IT managers, and other key professionals drawn from a representative sample of organizations across 8 countries by size and sector. And these are the people on the front line of the business battle against cybercrime. So this for sure is a document or an article that I strongly suggest that you take the time to look into to see all that the report has to unfold in terms of the importance of actually having your cyber resiliency or your cyber network security plan in place that can definitely boost or drive the resiliency of the organization that you are actually providing your services to. So, guys, there you have it for another review on the CyberJA weekly review. Stay tuned, stay connected for future streams.